Hi, Brad Huff with Texas Association of Golf Coaches. I'm here with Jake Harrington, the men's coach at University of Arkansas Little Rock. Jake has been the three-time national champion. He's been the two-time national coach of the year, both at South Mountain Community College. He's also coached Team USA with Scotty Scheffler and a bunch of other very, very talented kids. So, Coach, thank you for taking a little time to spend with us here.
No problem.
Wanted to ask you a few questions. One is, how do you build the team concept inside of our individual sport? What are things you guys do at UALR to get that team vibe going?
We do a lot of team activities. We do team builders, ropes course. Everything we do is as a team. Sometimes we'll do match play on a golf course, but everything we do is about building a team. Team chemistry is what really separates a decent team from a good team and a good team to a great team. So there's a lot of team building where we'll pair people up and really get the juices flowing in competition and really get them to some way to wrap their arms around each other to realize that it's not just themselves. So we do a lot of different team activities on the golf course.
That's great. Most of us in Texas are playing 18-hole tournaments. Well, we play a lot of 36-hole tournaments, but we aren't, because of school, we don't get a lot of practice rounds in and able to spend a lot of time on a golf course and chart it. And a great many of us, probably the vast majority of us, play one-day 18-hole tournaments. Sometimes we haven't seen the golf course until we get there. So put yourself kind of in our shoes where we pull into the golf course. What are the things that you do when you're at UALR from when you guys get to the golf course on competition day until the first guy tees off?
Well, if you don't have the time to practice and get a practice round in, the biggest thing is to go to the putting green. Putting green and chipping green to see how the greens react, the speed of the greens, and you can step off on a chipping green, hit a lot of chip shots and see how they react and roll out. Because the biggest thing, the way to lower your scores is all on your speed, distance control speed. So what we would do is we get there a little early and hammer out 20-foot, 30-foot putts to make sure we have our speed down, and then also with our chipping to make sure that we know how the greens react. Because every course you go to, there's some soft, there's some hard. But if you know how it reacts around the greens, it doesn't matter if you miss a green. So the guys know that, they know how good they are around the greens, and that frees them up to actually hit more greens because they have less pressure on them.
Good advice there. The other new thing we've got in Texas is we're now able to coach anywhere on the golf course. And we've gone through 1 year with that, and we're all kind of finding our way with what's the best way to do it, what works for us and our team and our kids and whatnot. What do you, and most of us don't have assistants out there with us. Some of us are blessed enough to be able to have two people on the golf course. But if you're one person on the golf course, what do you do during the competitive round to try to give your team the best advantage they can?
Well, that's how I've been my whole career. I've never had an assistant on a golf course. Occasionally I have a volunteer assistant that will come out with me to different conference championships or whatnot. But on the golf course, there's a couple different things. One, you have to know the 5 guys that are playing for you during that tournament. There's some kids that don't want you around, and that's good because that frees you up to be with the other 4. I always get them off the first tee because I feel like if I can help them set the mood, I remind them of what we want to do. Typically on 18-hole days, I tell them the first 3 holes, get to feel the golf course, get to feel what your swing is under competition, and let's hit the fat of the greens to get our momentum going because pars build momentum. So I'm really big on that on 18-hole days. When we go out there, I'll typically walk with somebody for a couple holes, but I'll end up a lot of times on par 3s, or when we talk about it with the team, different holes that are critical holes. It could be a par 4, could be par 5. The thing I like to do sometimes is these kids go off of momentum so much they like to see that birdie or eagle. Even though we all know that every shot matters, no matter if it's a par putt, birdie putt, eagle putt, what I'll do is if I go to par 3s and they're evenly spaced out, is I'll go there, get the number, but what I'll do is I'll look at the 2 groups before my first group coming in on the previous hole, and I'll map out the putting green. So I'll go and I'll see which way it breaks, so when my kids come up there, I know exactly what every putt does around that cut. So if there's a par 5 right in front of it, and you get a kid that's there, and 2, you're right there with them to be able to make that putt and build up momentum, so when he sees you, a lot of times these kids are like, Coach, I don't want to be around you because I always screw up. But if you start building situations where when they're actually around you, they're making birdie putts, you're giving them good reads, you start to build that confidence for when those kids are around you, they really feed off of, okay, here's Coach, instead of, crap, I don't want to screw it up because Coach is here. Now it's, oh, every time Coach is around, I make a good putt, or he gives me the right club, or things like that. And you really need to figure out what your kids want as far as, do they want to know the number to the hole? Do they want to know what Johnny hit right before them? What do they want? Because a lot of kids, they vary so much to where when I'm on the course by myself, I like par threes, but I also like those key holes where I can map a hole in front of it and really get the juices flowing for those 5 guys and figure out, okay, if I know that the one guy is really out of it that day, then I'm going to focus on the other 4. But those guys know that when I leave them, it's not because of them, it's because I need to get the other 4 in the house. So I really like getting the hole beforehand and seeing how they putt.
Yeah, I love that. And you and I spoke earlier about that, and I think that's a great idea. That was really outside the box. What do you do immediately after a round? So let's say, and if you don't mind addressing both, you've played really well or you've played really poorly. You know, what are you guys doing? What are you talking about? What are you doing with your team?
Well, so much of what I do is on sports psychology and how the kids are thinking. And whether it's a good round or bad round, I'll let the kids talk for about 10 minutes and say, okay, this is what we did good, what's what we did bad. And typically you're going to hear, oh, I 3-putted this, or I double bogeyed this, or I did this, and it's all negative. So I'll let them talk for 10 minutes and say, hey, let's get it all out. And they're doing their thing. And I'm just sitting there just monitoring what they do and reading their language and where they're at. And then what I do to the guys is after about 10 minutes, I say, okay, guys, come in. Let's go around the horn and tell me one thing you did great that's going to help you out tomorrow. I want something that you're going to build off that's going to carry your momentum. I don't care if you shot 80 or if you shot 68. Tell me something you did great today that's going to help you tomorrow. And we'll go around and we'll make sure everybody pays attention and they're going through and saying, you know what, I made a lot of great par saves today, or I chipped it really well, or I drilled the ball really well. And they're feeding off of these things to where at the end of the day, that the last thing they remember is something positive. So when they come back the next day, hopefully the last thing that is in their head is everything positive. So we cut out the negative stuff. I don't want to hear any negative talk after that first 10 minutes. They got out of their system, they talked to their buddies, but now we're all positive. Everything we do is positive and how we build momentum from there, because we can't control what's already happened. So my team knows when they come in, they got about 10 minutes to get that off their chest, because from that point forward, I don't want to hear a single negative thought. And I feel like that's what really makes them better, but then also their teammates who are hearing it, they build off of that as well. As like, oh yeah, maybe I did that really good today. And so it really kind of catches fire in the team.
That's interesting. We actually do that in my school. That's the very first thing we do when we get in the van is we go around the horn, and I said, tell me about the greatest shot you hit today.
Uh-huh.
And in an effort to try to get them, if you ever want to know the difference between boys and girls ride home with them in a van on the way home from a golf tournament, you'll hit every bad shot that a boy ever hit. But I try to alleviate that by making them tell me about all the great ones they hit, because they'll hit 2 bad ones and 2,700 good ones, and they'll just tell you about the 2 bad ones.
Absolutely.
Coach, what are you looking for in a recruit? What level of play to play at the University of Arkansas Little Rock? What kind of grades are we looking at? I mean, what does your kid need to look like?
My kid is a scratch golfer. They could be, and they may be shooting 73, 74 average, but typically they're a scratch golfer. Work ethic is huge to me. Is my first year coaching, I recruited straight talent. I wanted the most talented kids I could get my hands on, and we didn't play very good. And a lot of that was because team chemistry wasn't there. I just went after the studs. Let me bring the best talent I can. And that's where I really started developing my coaching philosophy is I want team chemistry. Team chemistry is the biggest thing, because there's good teams out there that have great team chemistry, and you see it every year in the NCAAs. They knock off a team who's maybe the 1 or 2 team in the country, because the number 1 team hasn't won the national tournament, since match play started. So especially at our level, it's team chemistry, because you feed off of each other. Yeah, it's an individual sport, but you need to be able to rely on your teammates to be able to know that those 4 guys have your back through thick and thin. So I'm looking for team chemistry guys. I want guys that want to work. If you're going to work your butt off, you can play for me. Also, the way you're trending. You may be a late starter, but if you're trending in the right direction, you went from 76 to 74 to 72, I like that trend. If you've gone back the opposite way, I'm going to stay a little away from you, because I firmly believe that right about 16, 17 years old is when hard work and natural talent crisscross, and hard work beats natural talent.
I would agree with that all day. What would you tell a kid that's maybe getting ready to play college golf? What the difference, because what they experience in college is really different than what their high school experience generally. What would you tell those guys, those recruits, as you're talking to them about, this is what's going to be different about what you're doing now?
Yeah. Well, high school coaches typically are full-time teachers. and they do it. It's extra, extracurricular activity for them. When you come to college, typically, that's our full-time job. And we're trimming the fat. It's no more, I may do this one day, or I may do this, and I may want to play this day and not this next day. When you get to college, you need to be serious about getting better. And if you're not serious about getting better and doing the right things, then your coach isn't going to sit there and put up with it anymore. In high school, I feel that you're given what you're given. You don't recruit it. In college, we recruit it. And so if you come into me, I'm putting my name out there for you. And we're going to go out there, we're going to get specific in practice, and we're going to get specific in workouts. And we're really going to grind you in a way that's going to make you a better player, make you a better person, turn you into that adult, because right there you're at that 17, 18, 19-year-old stage where you're really developing who you are as a person. And it's not just golf, it's everything. So when you get to college, you better be ready to work, because that's what you signed up for. And if you're not going to sign up for that, or you're just kind of half in, don't do it.
A lot of time commitment once you
Absolutely.
get to college, a lot of early mornings that kids aren't used to, and weight rooms. And, all right, let's find out a little about Coach Harrington. Coach, what's your dream foursome?
My dream foursome, I'd have to probably go, Jack Nicklaus, always an idol growing up, but one of my biggest idols is Ben Crenshaw. He is one of the classiest people on and off the golf course. So I'll put Jack in there, Ben Crenshaw in there, and my dad. My dad's my best friend. He's the one that got me into golf. That's why I do the things I do. And a lot of times there were days where I didn't want to play golf. And I did it to see the reaction on my dad's face, because that's what drove me. So those four, that would be a pretty special foursome for me.
That's cool. What's the best coaching advice you ever got?
Best coaching advice I ever got was never say I or you, always we or us. We are a team. It is what we do. It's not what you did today. It's not what I did today. It is what we did as a team. If you don't separate yourself as a coach and you're always there with the team, I constantly preach us. We're a team. We're a unit. If you do that and really set your mind to it, because there's going to be a time where little Johnny screws up and you're going to want to chastise him, but you need to bring it back into what it is for us as a team, because that's how you can flip that switch the quickest. If it's all about you, and you're beating him down, and you don't say, well, this is what we need as a team. I need you to be a leader, because on our team, that this is what we do, and you really make this team click. And if they get that sense from you that it's all about us and that I'm not above them, and I need them as much as they need me, and I tell my guys every year, I want to learn from you as much as you learn from me. And the first thing I'll say in every team meeting is, I'll run through a brick wall for you, but I expect you to do the exact same thing for me. And that's how our teams are built, and that's how I believe championships are built.
Great advice. What are your passions outside of golf? What do you like to do when you're not coaching, or something not related to golf?
My family's my passion. I'm fortunate to have my wife's pregnant. We got a little boy on the way, so I know that's going to change my life a lot. But I love being around my team. I love being around my friends. Jake outside of the golf course is, let me relax, have a good time. I don't like to be in big crowds. I like to have 5 or 10 of my buddies over, barbecue outside, watch some golf, any sport on TV. I love sports, so any sport on TV, and just to hang out with my friends that I know that I can trust. That's what I love doing on the weekends or when I'm not coaching.
I also heard you like paddleboarding, but that's a different story. What is your, last question, tell me about your best day in golf. Could be you, could be your team, whatever. What's the best thing that's golf related that ever happened to you?
For me, I was a pretty good player in junior college, and I played at South Mountain Community College where I ended up coaching. And something that I didn't realize I had held on to for as long as I did was, I was one of the top 10 players in the country on the number 1 ranked team in the country, and I strained my forearm the night before nationals at the national banquet, and I played horrible. And that was at Palm Valley Golf Course in Arizona. Well, my first year coaching, we missed nationals, and in 2010, we went back there as a coach. And when we went back there, we ended up winning by 10 shots on the course that I screwed up on as a player. So for me, it was going into that and kind of redeeming myself and saying, okay, here's a course, here's a place that you screwed up, or that I felt like I screwed up, even though everybody, all my teammates would say, Jake, it's not on you. But to be able to go there and win the national championship, it was my first national championship as a coach on the course that I had held so much onto, and so many negative thoughts that When we won that championship, it was a relief off my shoulders like I had never felt before.